Welcome to the Social Media Church podcast. I'm Neil Smith, joined by Aaron Magnuson, and today we are talking about Instagram. Aaron, let's talk Instagram.
Instagram is the best conversation of 2020, Nils. I just don't think that there's going to be anything better. But we wanted to really dive into best practices for your church's social profile.
Yes.
So,
and when you talk about Instagram, Aaron, how
Yeah.
much time do you think you spend a day on Instagram?
Oh man, my phone could probably tell you. My phone can tell you actually. I won't look that up right now.
Yeah.
But the majority,
Yeah.
not the majority of my day, the majority of what is happening on my phone is
Yes.
Instagram.
Yeah. Is
Because
it the first app you check in the morning when you wake up?
to be honest, no, because I'm
Okay.
intentional about that.
Okay.
But it would be. So if that answers your question.
Yeah.
What about you? Is it your first?
Probably, if I'm honest. I mean, I want to say
Yes.
the Bible app is my first one.
Yeah, right.
But it's typically probably But I would say it used to
Instagram
be-
more than anything.
It used to be text messages, email, social, sports. Does that make sense? That would be
Yes.
my morning routine.
Yes.
And ideally the Bible was a part of that flow, and ideally the Bible was first. And typically in that flow, I'd probably be convicted about the Bible. It didn't fit
Sure.
into that flow though, always.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'd typically start with text messages, and still it's probably between text messages and Instagram. But I would say it's kind of now text messages or Instagram. Then
Is it because it's so possible that you have messages in Instagram? Like what
Yes.
draws you to check? The
DM.
messages?
DMs.
Yes.
I have a lot of interactions via DMs now on Instagram
Yes.
with a lot of
Same.
friends. And so
And
it's like
generally those are more exciting than my text messages.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, every day I wake up to DMs every morning,
Yes.
and I'm always intrigued who randomly
Yes.
messaged me last night. And so if you want to get a hold of me, best way to get a hold of me is in my
You
DMs
just learned
on
Nils' kryptonite is the DMs on Instagram. But that's so true. And that's like if you want to coin the metaphor or coin the phrase, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. The DMs are everything. I mean,
Yes.
it's not even my feed. It's not even checking somebody's story. It's probably in this order. My motivation with opening Instagram as often as I do is checking the DMs and adding to my story.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and I would say Instagram's just fun. I like
Yes.
Instagram a lot. I like following, I like watching the stories. I like
Yes.
scrolling the feed. I just like Instagram. And I think you're seeing more and more attention going to Instagram, multi-generational.
Yep.
It's what Facebook was 4 or 5 years ago.
That's right.
Where Facebook was likely the second platform I checked 4 or 5 years ago of I wanted to see what notifications I had, what messages I had.
Yeah.
Where now Facebook is 6 or 7 on that list.
Easy.
And typically I just quickly open it, nothing new. I check Messenger maybe before I even check Facebook now. So yeah, let's talk about, there's a bunch of functions in Instagram.
Yes.
So we're talking on this platform, how should a church maximize Instagram?
Yep.
And I want to be clear too, is we often say you can't be everywhere.
Yep.
And it's probably that you cannot use every function on Instagram, but we
Right.
want to talk through all the functions you can be using, and maybe some of them that you should be, and maybe some that you should tinker with. So the first, and I think the most important, probably most under prioritized, is the profile image. The profile image is the first thing people notice from you. It's what people are going to remember from you. Aaron, what makes, from your perspective, a good profile image for a church?
Let me get really obvious here, but it's not so obvious because I'm having to say it. Make sure it's your face, please. Not your dog, not your kid,
Yes.
not your wife, not a big group, not your husband. Make sure it is your face and predominantly your face. I
Yes.
want to know who it is that I'm interacting with.
Totally.
Or there are a couple, and this would be a rare occurrence. This would be the exception, not the rule, where somebody is so known for their brand that
Yep.
you associate their face with their brand and they have their brand in there. And I guess that would be more so your church. But
Yep.
so for your church, make sure it's a clean image. If your logo can cleanly fit in there,
Yep.
make it your logo.
Yes.
Just what you're most synonymized with,
Yeah.
what
And
people have
probably like the
associated.
icon in your logo.
Yes.
So if you have like an icon, then your name, the icon. But
Yes.
something that you're synonymous with, and that can, I think, Aaron, to your point, that you can see. So this is why for a person, it should be their face. And sometimes
Totally.
you'll try to put a family picture. Nobody can
Yeah.
see that.
Right.
It's such a small image. Make it something memorable and
Yes.
consistent.
And what
yeah.
is always right next to your profile picture? It's your handle. So
Yes.
you can do, like, I think those are almost synonymous with each other. Like, you need to have a great profile picture, but it's supported really strongly with the name. Or if you see the name first, the profile picture supports it. Nils and I were recently looking at people who are verified. So people who have great Instagram accounts, but their handle is super weird. It's got numbers in it, and it's like it's not clean. The picture might be great, but I'm confused by, like, even like if it wasn't verified, I would think, oh, that's a fake account because it's got some numbers in there. So I think it's both. I thought you were going to say the bio being the most underrated and most important. You got me. You're absolutely right. The first thing people encounter on Instagram, whether it's in the stories, whether it's in the search section, whatever it is your handle and it is your picture, and those things should complement each other really nicely.
Yes. And a lot of times people want to put their name in the profile image. One, they can't read it, and two, it's right under that profile image or next to it in a post. So you don't need your name there.
No.
Also, I do think when you click on the profile image, if you have a circle around it, it means you have a story there. So you should have stories all the time. I think you shouldn't go more than 24 hours without adding a new story to your stories. That should always be highlighted from.
Can I ask you this, Nils, regarding the stories? Have you noticed there's been a trend in Instagram where the profile picture will be edited such that it looks like it has a story? It's got like a thin ring around the profile picture, but if you click on it, it's not there, but it does make it pop off the screen more.
Interesting.
I am not a fan of it because it drives me nuts that they're trying to make it look like something is happening when nothing has actually happened. But I can't deny that it catches my attention because because of the stories, what we're trained to do is look for that little circle that's around. Anyways, have you noticed these profiles?
I haven't noticed that, and that would irritate me.
Yes.
Of just like, all right, I'm never going to click on your thing then.
Don't hack.
If you're going to
don't hack the system. Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to see if you had noticed that or not. Anyways, good profile picture, and make sure that the ring is authentically there, because people that's people's first taste. Your picture, your handle, your story. That's what it is right away.
Boom. So
and
then
Instagram,
let's talk about
really
the
quick. Instagram has done a great job of doing that from anywhere, whether you're in the DMs, even in the comments section, you can access people's stories. So that is like the most important thing. No matter where people are on Instagram, they can experience you and your flavor before they even go to your profile through those three things. So that's just really important.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead, Neil.
So
sorry, I cut
getting
you off.
into the description. No, it's good. The description. What makes a good description, Aaron? From your
I think I try to think about this, and I don't know that this is great for me. I try to think about the people who have started following me, or if I'm searching for somebody, what I'm looking for. I always think it's interesting. You should certainly have something in there about probably where you're located. And I'm also trying to separate these things from your church page to your personal page, but I think we're trying to stick in the vein of our church's pages. So certainly, maybe if you don't in the handle have the full name of your church, throw that full name in there. Maybe where you're located. If you're known for your lead pastor, I always think it's great to tie your organization to the leader or leaders. On Instagram, that's just a really good strategy because you make it more personal that way. Those are some of the things that I think of. And then obviously, like, I think one of the biggest things, and this is, if there's any ambiguity or I'm confused about anything, it is always helpful when there's a link in there. So make sure that there is something for them to click, whether it's a tap link. That's what we're all about here at Social Media Church. But there's a couple different functions that do that allow you to have a couple things on there. Link trees on there. But but at the very least, there should be something to your website in some form or fashion. But Nils, I'd love to know what you think are the vital components of a bio.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I mean, I think being clear,
Clear.
and just, here's who we are and what we're about. I think too, maybe even having service times on there, because typically a
Yes.
first step is when are your services, and that's what you want somebody that's checking you out probably to come
Yep.
to your local church. I think some people use, and I've done this in my personal profile, little emojis.
Yeah.
So each line having an emoji.
Yes.
Or just using the inner space, like having space, because you've got a little bit of space there, and don't fill up every character to
Yes.
overwhelm, but be very clear with some key points. And then, utilize things like your address and leaving, making it open for people to leave you a message, and your contact information of
Yep.
let people contact you. And so this is kind of a first impression, who you are. Take time, go look at a few other churches, but be intentional, be thoughtful, and fill that out. And don't be
That actually, go ahead.
theoretical.
That makes me think too, like, I think one of the things that you shouldn't do, those are definitely some of the things you should. What you shouldn't do is, I think we would all say that any form of communication that is native to where they're interacting is preferred. So you don't
Yes.
have to litter it with your phone number. Don't
Yep.
throw email addresses in there. Like, let them get in contact with you via Instagram. So
Yes.
you don't need extra forms of communication. That can happen after the fact. Let that first touch point be in the comment section on a post. Let it be in the DMs. Those are all viable. Like, they're already interacting with you in there. You don't have to litter it with extra stuff like call this number or email this number, or I guess texting would be different if you're trying to drive traffic towards a text broadcast list. But I would even say don't confuse it. Just be like, there's a message button that Instagram throws on there for you anyways, and that's super
Yeah.
easy. We're all accustomed to doing it.
Yeah.
Don't get wild and crazy. But if you aren't responsive to those messages, then people are going to be trained not to tap that button. But yeah, don't litter it with unnecessary stuff. And I would say that phone numbers and emails, which used to be not unnecessary, is
Yeah.
now unnecessary.
Yeah. That's a good word, man. Good word. Okay. Then the next part underneath that
Yep.
bio is your saved Instagram stories.
Yes.
And so this is where a lot of people and organizations have gotten very creative.
Yep.
Aaron, what would you recommend? How should a church maximize those spaces, those opportunities? What are some ideas?
Well, contrary to my own personal page, I really like it when those images are clean,
Yeah.
and it's not so you're going to see on your Instagram profile a bunch of circles.
Yep.
And there's 5 that you get to have seen. You can have more than that, but
Yeah.
when they're encountering your profile, they're going to see 5. And I always like it when those images are really clean, and you almost don't need the words underneath to explain what it is. And so once you click on that, that's when you see what's archived there, and there's a whole bunch of stories and stuff. But that first button essentially that you're clicking on is clean, and you know what you're about to experience. And so I just happen to be looking at Life Church's profile right now, and they have one for baptism, and it's just a single droplet of water, a little teardrop shape. And then they have weekend stuff, so you can get a glance at what their weekend looks like. You can listen to their podcast. They are obviously pushing the Bible app, and then they have some blog stuff. But cleanliness right there is the most. Cleanliness and clarity, which are pretty synonymous,
Yep.
are the most important, just because people are deciding right then and there what information they want to consume, and when they understand what they're about to jump into, it makes it easier. Nils, what about you? What do you like?
That's good. I mean, I think Life Church, that's a good example here. I mean, overall, I mean, I think when we look at kind of best practices, what they've done as a church is really a good structure to follow. And so they baptism weekend, listen, Bible app. I mean, I think really thinking through first time visitors, and maybe have a series of Instagram stories, with the introduction or welcome to the church or invitation to the church, maybe worship, if you've got some great worship music and things that connect to that. I think listen is a good one, or watch, when it comes to sermon clips that might then link to one of the upcoming sermons, or just a, sermon message. So maybe announcements, the newest announcements will be there, we'll have those highlights if you want to click on that. So I think feeding in some different things, but I do think those are worth prioritizing a few stories to have in that library. So go check out, I think the key here is just understanding what all the functions are. Go look at some other churches, look at what they do, look at some other organizations and what they do. One of the platforms that I was actually working with a ministry today about Instagram, which is what made me kind of think about this podcast idea, is if you can handle the vulgarity of, I always want to say this when I talk about Gary Vaynerchuk here, I think there's actually similarities. VaynerMedia is his company. Gary Vaynerchuk is the leader of that company.
Yes.
People connect to people better on social media. So your pastor likely is going to have the best impact on social media if he's invested in it personally, because people want to connect to a person. But your church has an organizational impact. And so I think actually looking at Gary Vaynerchuk's Instagram account, and then looking at VaynerMedia's social media, Instagram account, and then see how those two complement each other is a pretty good model for how to use social media. Now, one thing that they do that I thought was intriguing on VaynerMedia is they have a very short tagline that's not very descriptive as to what their organization does. I wouldn't recommend that. I think they're kind of doing that as a, kind of a, we're going to do something different. But I don't think that's a general best practice, because I think you want to be descriptive. But yeah, it's interesting and an interesting model. So we'll keep going down, but I think go and look at some other organizations and churches though, as you get into those steps. So now as you go down, the first thing you see is the post. And so the post in a mosaic format, actually above that, what you see is basically three icons, one that is the post, one that is IGTV, and one that is your
what you're tagged in.
Yeah, what you're tagged in. You can't really control what you're tagged in.
That's right.
And but you can't actually report if you to untag yourself from posts. So just so you know,
which I have heard this, and this doesn't pertain as much for maybe an organization, because generally people aren't. But I have heard that people will check what the person is tagged in first, because you're going to get a better flavor for who they are versus who they want you to see them as. It's great that Instagram doesn't put that on there first. Thank you, Instagram. But yeah, it's just important to know. It's all, I mean, you can leverage that too, right? Like encourage people to tag you would be the other way to look at that, is like, hey, we need your help. We want people to see who we are for who we are, not who we're perceived to be. And when you tag us on Instagram, your pictures show up on our feed, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And I think encouraging your staff to do that, encouraging core volunteers to do that is a good.
That's actually interesting. And in full transparency, I will tag the location of our church when I post a picture that is from there, but I will not tag our church in or on the picture. I actually should rewire my brain and start doing that. I think that'd be helpful. It's good that we're going through this, Nils. We're learning stuff as we go.
It's convicting. I mean, I'm thinking about my personal Instagram account right now too, and some things, optimization things I should be prioritizing in my personal account.
Anyways, but to go back, Nils, those are the three things.
Let's talk about
the grid.
Yeah. So you see the grid there in your post listed out. One of the things, Aaron, that I saw today that really got my attention on Gary Vaynerchuk's Instagram account is he posted something, maybe it was a couple of days ago, that said, stop treating your Instagram account like an art gallery. And so basically what you're saying is stop obsessing over the grid and focus on every single post providing value more than obsessing as to how it looks in the grid.
I am so happy to hear that. And I can't stress that enough.
Yes.
I want to see who you are. I don't want to see a fancy grid because you don't look at Instagram on the grid. As a matter of fact, this gets awkward. I had a football buddy that posted a picture of he and his teammates, and he did that grid thing. I think he did a 3x3 9, and some of the shots are just of men's legs,
Okay.
and it looks very strange because you're looking at your feet and like, why'd they post this picture? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, it makes sense if you saw the whole grid, but it looks really strange and
Yes.
random and off-putting.
Yes.
That I censored that a little bit. You can fill in the blanks on how high up the legs you want to go. It was a
Yeah.
confusing picture for me.
Yes.
And so I can't stress or agree with Gary enough. I'm so glad he posted that. I wish I would have seen that. I'm going to find it and put that in my story right now, because I absolutely hate that when
Yeah.
people do it for the art gallery status, right?
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
going to ask you about that, Neil. So I'm glad that clarified that really quickly.
Yeah. It's yeah. So I think that's. I mean, the other thing too, your Instagram posts are have a diversity of your post. Have some inspirational graphics.
Yeah.
Have some photos. Have some
Video,
carousel posts.
video,
Have
video,
a lot of
video,
video.
video.
And Aaron, one of the Instagram accounts, so you and I talk about a lot, is Transformation. I think it's We Are
Yes.
Transformation. Video, video, video,
So
video.
good.
I mean, just so much video, and it's basically like video, IGTV video, video.
Yep.
You know,
Totally.
but yeah,
And we
video,
love it.
Yes, it's
We
so
all
good.
love it.
And it's easy to share then to your Instagram story
Yes.
as well. And so make shareable content, because those posts are much easier to share, people to share to their Instagram stories.
Yes. Yes.
So any other thoughts on the Instagram post, and then we'll get to other functions?
I'm glad I went to Gary's profile really quick, and because as we scroll right, there is a fourth option that you could have. And if you're large enough or your church does a good enough job of it, you can actually sell on Instagram. And I don't know the rules and regulations, but Gary actually has 4 headlining things on. He has the grid, he has IGTV, and then he has a shopping bag, which would be items that you can purchase, which are just the posts. It looks like it categorizes his posts that he has deemed that there is something in that picture that you can buy. It also looks pretty new on Instagram's radar. It doesn't look very well fleshed out, but that is something that's on there. So I mean, our church sells merchandise. You might be at a church that sells that, and just something interesting to think about. But I don't know anything about the rules and regulations of what you have to be on Instagram in order to sell. Is that a verified? Do you have to be verified on Instagram to sell stuff?
I don't think so.
Okay. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Anyways, but that could be a fourth. So if that's a niche thing for you and you want to strategize around that's another option. But yeah, did you want to move across the board and go into IGTV?
Yeah, let's go to IGTV. So IGTV came out, I don't know, a couple years ago, and I would say most people deemed it a flop.
Yes.
This is going to be the next thing. It's going to beat YouTube. You can have 60-minute videos, long form video, but it's all vertical video.
Yep.
Well, it didn't really catch on. Now they've gone to where you could post horizontal videos. You can do all kinds of things, but didn't get mass engagement.
Yes.
But a few months ago, they incorporated it into the news feed with your posts. And now all of a sudden, Instagram stories are getting a lot more engagement. And so they get the first 60 seconds on the Instagram post, then watch in IGTV.
Yes.
Aaron, what do you think are some best practices around IGTV?
What I really like is when people get creative, they don't get hamstrung by it having to be vertical, and they just go for it. So don't over stress about video quality. Or does this look weird? Again, we'll use Transformation Church just because they put out so much content constantly off of their weekend. There's even times where they have a vertical video and Michael Todd, their lead pastor, will walk out of the shot because it's vertical, it's not horizontal, and they're okay with that. They own that. So I would say don't over stress about the quality. That's okay. But one of the things you can do to combat the vertical video is make the video square instead of vertical, and put a really intentional understanding that it's probably going to be encountered, like Nils said, in the feed, which is square first, not vertical. Do something really creative with the border around the video. It's generally text-based. Sometimes it's just exclusively subtitles or closed captions, I should say. But do one of the best practices that I see for IGTV videos to keep them vertical is getting really strategic around the framing of the video, which kind of helps you understand context in the video. Because generally, it's not going to be your whole sermon. I don't know anybody that's posting their entire message into IGTV, but just
Yeah.
snippets of it. And so you can kind of help people immerse themselves into what's being talked about by the text that you're going to throw around the frame. I also notice the frame really quickly because it's part of the post. And so sometimes the words pop out and it's the words that prompt you to watch the video. So think about how the words can
Yeah, that's
catch,
good.
getting them to the meat of the content. But I would say that's the best practice for me is think about how you can not keep it vertical. Don't worry about that. Um, don't try to figure out how do I make them watch it in 16:9, but just keep it vertical and think about how you can frame it. Nels, what about you? What do you like with the IGTV?
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, I think that the question I get a lot is how long should the videos
Sure.
be? And a lot of people think, well, because you can do 60 minutes, I should do 60 minutes. I
Yeah.
don't think that that's the best practice. I think just like YouTube, it should be as long as it needs to be and as short as it can be.
Great
But
word,
I
buddy.
think
Yeah.
3 to 5 minutes is really a sweet spot for IGTV. You don't need to post your whole sermon on
Yeah.
IGTV. Think about shorter videos. So it needs to be longer than a minute,
Yeah.
probably longer than 2 minutes, but going over 10 minutes is probably too long for that
Yes.
format. So that's my 2 cents on the length, but I think you nailed it. I mean, I think really being intentional with the content you're creating there um, is a good thing. So
Yeah. And
uh,
just understanding that it's going to show up in the feed. I think that's
totally,
the big new thing. That's what saved IGTV. So think about it in a feed first mentality, and
yeah,
then make sure that it's shareable.
it's good. It's good. Now, Instagram stories. So
Yep.
much attention has moved to Instagram stories.
Mm.
My attention's on Instagram stories. What should a church be doing, Aaron, with Instagram stories?
Yeah. I think we dove into this in a previous episode, which is so it'll be a lot the same. If you didn't listen to it, go find our other Instagram episodes in 2020. But I would say that the best thing you can do is very similar to what you're getting tagged in, exposing the authenticity of what your church is.
Yeah,
I mean, in the weekend is the easiest context that we all have to think about. There's stuff going on, there's people, there's a crowd, it's exciting, it's easy to capture. I think the more difficult stuff um, is what do you do during the week?
yeah,
And I know one of the things that I love is when I get to know a character,
yes,
that could be anybody on your staff, a character or a ministry, what they do better. And so it's always more powerful when your organization is the curtain is peeled back and there's a realization that is created that, oh, there's people that work here and I like these
yeah,
people,
yeah,
um and or I don't like these people, and so you can make your decisions one way or the other. But I think predominantly if somebody's bought into what you're doing, it's because they like the people, so give them more of the people. And
yeah,
so I would say both on the weekend and during the week, do just that. In the stories, give them more of the people, and you can't give them too much
yep,
because they go away. So it's
yes.
content that doesn't stay forever. So it can even be silly, lighthearted. It doesn't have to be as formal, but they want people. So give
Yes.
them people.
I love it. You know, I did a vlog, I don't know, a couple of years ago probably, that talked about Instagram stories being micro vlogging. And so
Yeah.
when Twitter came out, it was considered micro blogging with a B, in that you had to learn how to communicate in 140 characters, where
Yes.
now with Instagram stories, learning to communicate in 15 seconds.
Totally.
Now the reality is you can now have multiple stories with
Sure.
in one recording, and I like the way they've created that functionality. But either way, you need to communicate shorter, whether that's even a video you upload to Instagram or a photo you share, or a selfie video. But I'm with you, Aaron. I like selfie videos. I would do a lot of staff takeovers, volunteer
Staff
takeovers,
takeover. Yeah.
get to know characters, get to know people,
Yep.
and then those people can tell the announcements you want. They can inspire. They can give messages. So I would do a lot of that. A lot of churches look at each other. They look at Lakewood. They look at
Yeah.
Life Church, and they see these flashy videos, and like, man,
Yep.
if I could do that, I would do Instagram stories. But because I can't do that, I won't
Right.
do that. I guarantee you, those churches, if Craig Rochelle was holding that thing, they'd get more engagement than the flashy videos because
That's right.
people want to connect with Craig personally. I get it. Not every pastor is going to do that. But I think that's where you're going to see the best engagement on those
For
platforms,
sure.
and keep something up all the time, even if it's just a photo.
Yeah.
Get that up, or if it's a shared, you can share your own Instagram post as a story to draw attention to those posts.
Yes.
So yeah, utilize those stories, have fun with it, test some things, experiment with some things, use some filters, like just do it.
And it's never
Don't
been
overthink
easier
it.
too. I want to dive into the sharing side of it a little bit
Yeah.
as well, because it's never been easier. When people tag you, you can share that. And I feel
Yes.
like as organizations, we get so nervous of like, well, is that an appropriate thing for our page to be sharing? And it's like, well, that shouldn't be as concerning,
Yeah.
I would say. And chances are, if they're tagging you, and it probably is appropriate, but the people that I see that are doing a really great job, both on their church profiles and personally, are taking what the crowdsourced content that their followers are willing to tag them in, are excitedly tagging them in, reward them, and increase their buy-in, increase people's chances to do that by rewarding it and share it in your story. And that gives,
Absolutely.
again, people a more authentic feel of what is actually happening at your church, instead of just the perception, which those flashy videos do, of this is what we want you to see us being, instead of what we actually are. And I think the best organizations, it is the same, but it's never been easier to share content because people are tagging you.
Yes. So good. And then the last feature, Aaron, that I want to look at is Instagram Live. What's your take on Instagram Live?
Oh yeah, that is a good feature.
Should churches be using it? Should they not use it? What's a good use for Instagram Live?
Well, we broadcast our services and we do not broadcast on Instagram Live. I do think I saw a Facebook, I think it was actually yours. There's a post that was posted in one of our groups about trying to figure out how people do that. And I think that there is a way to do that. I don't know. Me personally, I don't, when I see a live video pop up, even if it's somebody I know, I'm just not compelled to watch it. And I don't know why that is for Instagram. I don't know why that is. But I think for the same reasons that you need to be really strategic and intentional about the length of your IGTV videos, it's just as important to be strategic about the length of your live videos. And so I think that there's an understanding of, well, if this person's going live, it's probably something longer. It's not really a quick thing, or they would have just put it in their stories. And so I don't think, both from a consumer perspective or from someone who's trying to produce content and put it out, I haven't really found a good reason to watch or to be watched on Instagram Live. Nels, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, I think I think it's worth testing a little bit, but I've not seen good engagement on Instagram Live, and I don't. And I think maybe even doing hey, we're going to do an Instagram Live with our kids pastor tonight, on a Wednesday night, and we're going to talk about, how your family could better engage with the Bible.
Yes.
I think there's some things you can do with it a little bit, but I would say that the fascination with live in general has diminished significantly. When Facebook Live or Periscope came around, then Facebook Live came around, and I jumped on the bandwagon. I was like, man, it's all about live, and I'm doing a lot of live with LinkedIn right now. But it is not. It's not where you're getting the most engagement on Instagram, and I'd focus more on short edited videos rather than doing a live stream. So it's not getting you're not going to get more attention by doing an Instagram Live, and so much of what we're trying to do is catch people's attention. So try it, play with it, but don't prioritize it. I don't see, even the ministries that are streaming their services on there, I don't think they're doing it as a priority. I think they're just testing it at this point. And I'll be curious to see what they learn in the process. So
I just feel like stories covers the bases for why you don't need to go live on Instagram. And here's what I mean. Like, even with what your pastor might be talking about on any given weekend, if you give me 3, 4, 5 clips in the stories, I am way more likely to consume that, find one that I want to share, and share that, which is ultimately what we care about doing as we amplify our ministries, than I am to watch a live video of the entire thing. And so I think stories, because they you know that they happened within 24 hours, are live enough.
Yeah.
Would be that it undercuts the live nature, where it's like, well, I don't want to see a 5-minute live video. Even if it's 5 minutes, I don't want to see even 2 minutes live video. I just want to see 3 or 4 15-second chunks of what you wanted to say in your story, instead of watching it live, so that I can watch it throughout the course of the day today, not in this moment. And be good in the stories. Don't worry about live. Be good in the stories.
That's a good word, man. That's a good word. I should have shared these stats beforehand. But I just, a couple.
Hey, the meat's at the end. They got to make it to the end to get the stats.
But if you're not convinced that you need to prioritize Instagram, I want to share this. Instagram now has over 1 billion monthly active users.
Crazy.
500 million people a day use Instagram stories every single day.
That's crazy.
And the largest percentage of people that use Instagram, so 67% of that 1 billion, are between the ages of 18 to 29. Also a demographic that likely is not going to church.
Right.
And so what a great opportunity we have from a ministry perspective to reach that generation very intentionally on a platform. And at the end of the day, we got to be creative, got to be thoughtful, and we got to be smart. So let's do it. Let's crush Instagram for your church. I hope you'll tag us. Tag us on Instagram. Use the hashtag SMC podcast. Yes, hashtag SMC podcast. I almost forgot it for a minute.
That's the hashtag.
Tag Aaron and I. We want to see your church's Instagram account. If you listen to this, then updated it, tag us and say, what do you think? We want to look at it. We want to see how you responded to this episode of the podcast, the impact it made. Go to socialmedia.church and follow us. We're going to put our personal Instagram accounts on there. We want to connect with you on Instagram.
Yeah, some real professionals on Instagram. Make sure you follow us. We got it all figured out.
All figured out. But it's where we connect personally. And so connect with us personally on Instagram. Let's learn from each other.
And you heard from both of us what gets us out of bed in the morning. It's the Instagram DMs. So you just want to be there. You just want to be there.
There it is. Thanks for listening to this episode podcast. We will catch you on the next episode.